Hello parents, so your children have done the second part of the study skills course at the school, and today we are going to be chatting a little bit about that. I'm sure by now you guys are all grafting, getting ready for exams, so this should be quite welcome. Alright, so I spoke to the children, we spoke about a word that causes some problems. If you haven't watched the first video for this, I would really suggest that you watch it, because if those foundations are in place, it's going to make everything I say now relevant. But if those things are not in place, then everything today is going to be a little bit useless. So please, if you haven't watched that first video, rather watch that one first. If you're on track and everything's on board and happening, and you're ready to start memorizing for exams, then this is the one for you. Alright, so we spoke about a word that causes some confusion. The word is the word know, K-N-O-W. Now the problem with this word is that parents will say to the children, after they've studied for a while, do you know your work? And then without a doubt, what do the kids say? Yes, of course I know my work. I know it so well. It's going to be great. And then inevitably sometimes they write the exam and they do very well, or sometimes they write the exam and they do really poorly. And then we have this thing of, but I thought you knew your work. And what I've realized is that parents have got an interpretation of the word know, and children have got an interpretation of the word know. And so when you say to your child who's been studying, do you know the work? What they mean is, and I use this as an example, I ask them, do you know me, Mrs. Gonzalez? Do you know me? And they all know me, in that if you had to see me at the mall, you would give me a wave, you would recognize me. And in many ways, that is how they perceive the work as well. They know the work, they've seen the work, they are familiar with it. When they see the work in the mall, they will wave and say hi because it's familiar. But I asked them, if you had to write an exam about me and about my life and about the details of who I am, would you pass that exam? And the answer is no. Because even though you're familiar with me, you don't know me in detail and you haven't memorized me. And it works the same with the schoolwork. They've seen the charts, they've seen the pictures, they know what it looks like, the outline of the textbook, but they haven't memorized it. And what's very crucial for tests and for exams is not that the learners are familiar with the work, but that they have memorized the work. And what does it mean to memorize something? It means that you can answer questions about it, you can explain it using words that other people can understand, especially teacher people. And what you'll see is you'll sometimes say to your child, do you know whatever topic? And they'll say, yes. And then you say, okay, explain it to me. And they'll say, but I know what it means, I just can't explain it. That means that you haven't memorized it. And that means that you will not get the marks that you want to get for that test. So it's important to make that distinction. And during this, what we're going to be talking about today is I'm going to be helping you as a parent to be able to have those conversations with the kids so that you're asking the right questions to make sure that you're both landing on the same page. Alright, so this is pretty much how memory works, okay? So let's picture that this is your brain, a person's brain, okay? And let's say that this little ducky is Afrikaans, okay? So you are learning Afrikaans, and this is ducky Afrikaans ducky over here. And then over here we've got this little guy, and this is going to represent Fortnite, Roblox, Netflix, all of the distractions that come along, okay? Now, when we think something for the first time, just pretend this is like your thought process. So you think something, and it goes like that, and it makes like a little track, a little road to the thing that you have thought of, okay? And let's say that you go to Afrikaans, and this first track was your child sitting in Afrikaans class, okay? So for 20 minutes they concentrated, then they zoned out. And then they went home and they did their homework. And so they concentrated. There's a little bit of a deeper track. And then they studied for Afrikaans. And there was another track. And then they watched an episode of Lieve Heksie, because that's Afrikaans. And oh, bless shame, English kids need help with stuff like this, hey? Alright, so that is our Afrikaans track, okay? Then we've got Netflix. Oh, let's turn this guy so you can see him. There we go. Is he out? There we go. Cool. And this is, let's say that this is a series on Netflix, okay? Which has, so you watch one episode. But do they ever watch one episode? No ways. They're not watching one episode. They watch the whole season. And that is 20 episodes of 20 minutes each. And so we just see, I'm not even going to do all the tracks, okay? But you can see that this is so the way that our thoughts work, our thoughts go down, not the right track, not the wise track or the good track. They go down the track that has been used the most. Okay, so when the kid when they need to think about something, they're going to find it difficult to think about something that the track hasn't been used much. They're going to find it much easier. And I don't know if you've seen this, but your kids will sometimes watch shows that are incredibly complicated or play games that are super difficult, actually. But they'll explain it to you, and they'll explain all the details, and they'll remember random, useless facts that they will never ever use, but they will remember them because they've spent so much time thinking about it and going down that thought process. But then they have to remember other facts, and they'll be like, oh, but I'm never going to use this. I can't remember it. It's too difficult. It's not necessarily too difficult. The problem is that it just hasn't gotten a lot of track time. It hasn't been used much. So this road is like the bumpy, 4x4 Jeep track somewhere in the mountains. And this one is like the N2 highway that we are taking to Plet, and it is lekker and easy and no problems. So part of memory is actually just putting the time in to make the track that you want deep, and to make sure that that's good and strong, and strengthening those tracks. So we can't expect to spend 40 hours on this and maybe an hour and a half on this and expect our brain to retain this information as well as it retains this. A big part of memory is time, is just putting a bit of time in to wrestle through the concepts, to summarize, to make those flashcards, to do everything we're going to talk about. But the time is a very important element. So the first step when it comes to memorizing and getting those really nice solid tracks in our brain is to focus, okay? So at home, you want the kids to have a space where they can focus. If your home is very busy and very loud, see if you can find a space that that your child can study that's a bit more peaceful, that's a bit more relaxed. If that's impossible, something like earphones or earplugs might work, with white noise or instrumental music that they can listen to so that they can block out the other sounds. Different children learn in different ways, and so this is a little bit of trial and error figuring out how it will work, but there are certain things that are not going to help them. If there's people walking by all the time, if there's people interrupting them, if the TV's on all the time, things like that are really not going to help with their study time. It would really help if there's a couple of hours that are set aside that they know I can work, I can focus during this time. Phone is somewhere else, TV is off, maybe some instrumental music can be playing, something like that. But try and make it so that you really make it easy for the kids to study and to focus during that time. If they can't focus, they won't be able to get the information in. And so it's crucial that as parents that we really try and help the kids in this. So with summarizing, what we want to do is we want to see with the information what the main idea, what the group information is, so like the subheading, and then the details and the facts. From there, we can put it in different formats, so something that is quite formal like this with the main idea and then the group information and the facts going down. Or you can do something that is a bit more organic looking like this, where you've got your main idea in the middle and then your group facts going out. With each of your group facts, you put a little picture to remind you of the fact, not a picture of the actual animal for this case. And then what you can also do is a big picture one like this, where you've got your keywords at the top, you've got the keyword, the definition, and then the first thought picture, so the first thing that comes to mind with that word that you need to learn. And then you have your mind map that's got your main points, and then you have golden thread points, which is connecting it with other subjects, and then also how you connect the different ones, and those you can put on a separate page. Once you've completed your mind map, then you can make your flashcards, and on the one side you're just going to have the word, and on the other side you're going to have a simple ugly drawing of the facts that you need to remember for it. Okay, so once your child has made their summaries and they've made their flashcards, then the next step is to start testing them. Okay, so what they're going to do is on their own, they've received these in class, but if they lost them, then you can make new ones. It's very easy to do. You can even just draw on any piece of paper. But we said with the red, you write don't know. With the green, you write no. And with the orange, you write sort of know. And then what you want them to do is they need to go through their flashcards and test themselves to see whether they know the work or not. So if they go through the flashcard and they know it well, they put it in the green pile. If they know it a bit, but it's not perfect, orange pile, and if they don't know it at all, the red pile. Obviously what this does is it means that they're not going over the same work that they know well repeatedly, while not giving enough attention to the work that they actually need to focus on. And so what they're going to do is, as they're going through this process, they're going to spend more time on the orange and the red piles until they can gradually move everything over to the green. Once everything is in the green, then they come to you and you can test them on it. Someone I know once said that people don't respect what we don't inspect. So when you ask them, have you memorized your work? Because we're not saying, do you know your work ever again? You say, have you memorized your work? And if they say yes, then you say, bring me your flashcards. Because they should make flashcards. If they're using a different system or whatever, that's fine, but make some sort of system that works for you. I know for myself, when my kids are writing exams, I don't have time to go through all of the work and think of questions and check and everything. So I've got a system in place so that they make the flashcards themselves, and when it comes to testing them, I just say to them, bring me your flashcards. And then I go through with these 3 colors and I check that they know their work well. If they don't, I send them back and they go do it again until they've got that really banked into their memories. Once you have tested them, then the last step is for them to teach. So the way I said it to the kids in class is to pretend that you are a YouTube teacher and you have got an audience of 100,000 subscribers who are learning from you how condensation works or how whatever topic it is that they're studying, and pretend to be a YouTuber. And they can use their flashcards sort of as cue cards like you would use for an oral. So just those keywords on the one side, they can use that to explain the concepts. And they can record themselves if that'll help. If that'll be a massive distraction and take all the time and not give any results, then don't record. But they can pretend to be a YouTuber and to teach it. When we teach something, it actually does something amazing in our brain that really helps to solidify that information so that it's really banked into their memories. Good luck, guys. Enjoy the process and have fun.